The day I watched Melissa shrieking at the tow truck driver, her voice slicing through the crisp morning air like a chainsaw through butter, I knew I'd won. Her sedan polished, pretentious, and parked right where it didn't belong was being dragged off my freshly paved easement road. The one-way sign I'd planted at its entrance gleamed in the sunlight, mocking her with its clarity. That road, the lifeline to her precious cul-de-sac kingdom, was mine now, and I'd turned it into her personal purgatory. She didn't see it coming, not even after 6 months of legal trench warfare, petty sabotage, and enough paperwork to choke a courthouse. How does someone pull that off legally? How does she not notice the noose tightening? It's simple. Hubris is a hell of a blindfold, and I'm a civil engineer with a grudge and a knack for turning rules into weapons. It all started when I inherited the house from my late Uncle Tom. I moved in last fall, drawn by the promise of solitude and a fixer-upper with character. The place sat at the edge of Whispering Pines, a gated community so smug it practically had its own coat of arms. My driveway curved into a narrow road that fed into their pristine streets. A road, I assumed, was just part of the deal. I'm no stranger to property disputes. I've spent years untangling zoning knots and dodging bureaucratic red tape. But nothing could have prepared me for the HOA here, a cult of clipboard-wielding busybodies led by Melissa Carter, yes, her real name, dripping with irony, who acted like she'd been anointed suburban royalty. The house was a gem. Hardwood floors, high ceilings, and a quiet that felt like a deep breath after years in the city. I planned to renovate it slowly, maybe at a workshop in the garage, and keep to myself. That dream lasted exactly 4 days. On the 5th, Melissa appeared at my door, a vision in a starched blazer and a smirk that could curdle milk. "Welcome to Whispering Pines," she said, her tone so syrupy it was practically a threat. She thrust an envelope into my hands, HOA letterhead, wax seal, vibes, and sauntered off like she'd just served me eviction papers. Inside was a rulebook thicker than a phone directory, a community calendar I'd never asked for, and a notice of violation. My driveway, they claimed, breached their sacred ordinances by connecting to their private road. "You're trespassing every time you drive on it," the letter warned, as if I'd invaded a foreign country instead of parked in my own garage. I laughed it off at first. My uncle had lived here for decades. That road predated half the McMansions in the neighborhood. I figured it was a misunderstanding, a clerical hiccup. Then the fine arrived, $75,000, printed on paper so fancy it looked like a wedding invitation, complete with a logo that screamed, "We're better than you." Unauthorized access, property damage, traffic violations. They'd thrown the book at me, and I hadn't even unpacked mine yet. I tried reasoning with Melissa, showing her Uncle Tom's faded easement agreement, a legal relic from the 80s that granted permanent access and maintenance rights. She didn't even look at it. "Our lawyers will shred that," she sniffed. "You can't just claim a community asset. It's a precedent issue, people thinking they're above the rules." "Above your rules, maybe," I shot back. She didn't laugh. That's when I realized this wasn't a mistake. It was a power play. The escalation was swift and absurd. First came the signs, neon yellow warnings staked near my driveway, like I was running an illegal landfill. Then Melissa started snapping photos of my property, her phone held aloft like a detective at a crime scene. I caught her once, leaning over my fence to document my mailbox, and she just waved like it was normal. Next, they tow my truck. I woke up to clanking chains and a greasy driver hooking my F-150 to his rig. "HOA orders," he muttered when I stormed out in my boxers. It cost me $400 to get it back, plus a smug email from Melissa citing a rule I'd never agreed to follow. That was the tipping point. This wasn't an annoyance, Anna Marie, it was war. I dove into Uncle Tom's files, a dusty treasure trove of surveys, tax records, and contracts. The easement wasn't just real, it was ironclad. It covered access, maintenance, even the right to buy adjacent land if it ever went up for grabs. Tom had started paying into, notes scribbled in his spidery handwriting, for when they get cocky. I took it to my lawyer, Jake, a grizzled guy who'd seen every property scam in the book. He grinned like a kid on Christmas. "You don't just have rights to the road, you own its soul," he said. That easement ties half their neighborhood to your land. What do you want to do with it? At first, I just wanted peace rescind the fine, stop the towing, maybe gate my driveway to keep them out. But Melissa wouldn't let it go. A cease and desist notice appeared on my door, taped there like a middle finger, demanding I abandon the road and build a new access point. "You're not special," she'd scrawled at the bottom. "Rules apply to everyone." That's when I stopped defending and started attacking. I called the land trust, managing the easement's unclaimed segments. The land was available cheap, forgotten, and with a few forms and a modest check, I owned it. Not just rights, but the deed itself. The only road in and out of Whispering Pines was mine, and I could do whatever I damn well pleased with it. I expected pushback, but what came next was wilder than I'd imagined. A new letter arrived, this time accusing my house of structural noncompliance. They claimed it needed an architectural review by them, of course, since I wasn't in the HOA. Then they dropped the bomb. They were annexing my property into their jurisdiction. Annexing, like I was a rogue province in a medieval fiefdom. The letter cited a unanimous board vote to extend the community charter to include my lot, tying it to their shared access history. It was laughable. Uncle Tom had opted out of the HOA when it formed, building his house years before their reign began, but it wasn't funny. They were trying to swallow me whole. Jake nearly choked when he read it. "They're not a government theory, a glorified book club with delusions," he said. "This one hold up, but they'll act like it does." Sure enough, the demands rolled in. Repaint your fence, tear down your shed, replace your unwelcoming front door. Then came the patrols. Melissa's husband, Griga, lanky guy with the energy of a burned-out mall cop, started circling my property with a clipboard, jotting notes like he was OSHA. He knocked once, pointing out my sagging gutters and offering to expedite a fix through the HOA. "Expedite this," I said, slamming the door. They wanted a reaction, so I gave them one quietly. I finalized the easement purchase, securing the road from end to end. Then I posted a sign, "Private Easement Access Limited." Panic erupted. Melissa called an emergency meeting, railing about outsiders sabotaging their security. I installed cameras, cataloging every car that dare cross my line. When they towed my sister's Prius during a visit parked fully on my landy, called the cops. The officer took one look at my deed, told the driver to drop it or face charges, and watched Melissa turn purple as she screeched about interference. That night, I upgraded the sign. "Private easement, one-way traffic, only entry prohibited without permission." It was legal, enforceable, and a logistical nightmare for them. Whispering Pines became a ghost town overnight. Residents could leave, but re-entering meant breaking my rules. Deliveries stalled. Ubers dumped people blocks away. Landscapers bailed. The neighborhood chat exploded, Melissa's minions begging me to relent, others cursing her for starting this mess. She demanded a meeting. I sent her to Jake. The HOA fired back with a cease and desist, claiming I'd created an unsafe environment. Jake laughed so hard he dropped his phone. "They're suing you for owning your own land," he wheezed. "This is gold." I didn't stop there. I hired a crew to resurface the road, smooth asphalt, bold lines, private easement, painted in foot-high letters. New signs went up. One-way exit, only violators towed. Chaos reigned. Melissa drove through anyway, caught on camera ignoring every warning. I sent her a $200 trespassing fine, certified mail, with a copy to the board. Another resident followed suit. I billed her too. Melissa stormed my porch with a petition, 25 signatures demanding I lift the restrictions. "Do they own this road?" I asked. She didn't answer. "Then tell them to shove it," I said, smiling. The HOA tried one last stunt. A construction crew showed up to expand a sidewalk onto my land. I called the cops again, showed the deed, and watched them scatter. Melissa arrived mid-debacle, pleading innocence. "One more tow on my property," I warned, "and I'll sue the HOA in the next year." She glared, but I cracked her armor. Digging deeper, I found gold. The neighborhood's original plans marked the road as a shared easement, never HOA property, and their trash contract hinged on it. I mailed the evidence to the board, minus Melissa, and let it fester. Days later, the summons arrived. An HOA tribunal for my crimes. I showed up with a binder, a flash drive, and footage of Melissa breaking her own rules repeatedly. The room froze as I played it, her SUV rolling past signs like she owned the world. I laid out the deeds, the codes, the truth. "Take me to court if you want," I said. "I'll bring snacks." They crumbled. Melissa floundered, board members apologized, residents turned. I installed a gates leak, coded, emergency access compliant, and gave codes to everyone but her. She got stuck behind at once, revving her engine in a futile tantrum as neighbors smirked. At the next meeting, they ousted her, begged me to reopen the road. I did, on one condition. The HOA rewrote its charter, stripping any claim to my easement. They agreed. Melissa sold her house weeks later, fleeing under cover of night, still yelling at movers as she went. The sign stayed, now reading "Respect the road." Neighbors call me a legend. I just shrug. That's $75,000 fine. I never paid it. Instead, I turn it into a story, a paved monument to winning by outsmarting the tyrants, one rule at a time. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.